let's just jump in and talk about Oklahoma City defeating the Memphis Grizzlies on a night where, like, I'm really interested to see, like, I mean, this is the second biggest comeback in NBA playoff history. This is Ja Morant getting hurt, which played the biggest role in that. And it happened like during the NFL draft, so I don't think anybody's gonna like really understand or notice what happened here, because the series is going to be over after, you know, the next game in all likelihood. The final score here in this game is, as I'm looking,
114-108.
114-108. That's correct. I want to just start here. The Memphis Grizzlies in the first half, I thought, put together about as comprehensive and impressive a performance offensively as I have seen all season against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I don't think it was all that repeatable necessarily, because they were like 11 of 22 from three. They shot incredibly well. They were just on fire. Scottie Pippen was on fire. It was really good. But more than that, Oklahoma City had some really bad live dribble turnovers and live ball turnovers that led to runouts and made things like a little bit easier to just up the offensive efficiency against what is the best defense that we've seen probably in the last 10 years of the NBA in Oklahoma City. So I don't know how repeatable it was, but I will say that it was remarkably impressive. I thought that they did a lot of really interesting, creative things in terms of getting Ja Morant into space. Like, they utilized a lot of really fun, like empty side, you know, drag screen kind of actions to be able to get him early. And Ja did like an amazing job of kind of setting those guys up with like little hesitations into behind the back dribbles to be able to get into the open side of the court. And that's where he can thrive, obviously, is he can make reads off of drop coverage at a super high level. If you tag, he's going to hit that opposite corner. If you end up trying to stay at home, he's going to be able to hit the lob with Edey, which, you know, is a pass that he is extremely capable of and a pass that Edey is extremely capable of catching. So I do want to start with how impressive Memphis was in the first half of this game. And then Ja Morant goes down. And I think we have to start with the play, because it did just completely color everything that happened after it. I do not think this is a dirty play by any stretch. I think Lou Dort just slipped, and he was trying to guard Scottie Pippen. He was going backward. He decided to try and come forward to guard Ja Morant to be able to contest, and he just lost his footing. This is the second night in a row, though, where a NBA All-Star has gotten undercut by like an all-defense guy, and it is a bummer. It sucks. I don't, you know, I don't blame Lou Dort. I don't blame Amen Thompson. Like, I don't blame any of this here, but it just so significantly clouds everything that we saw after it that it's hard for me to get past that as we go through and talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously changes the trajectory of the game, and I don't know if I want to say the series. I mean, I guess if Memphis ends up beating the Thunder by 20 behind a great Ja Morant performance where it looks like maybe they've unlocked something, maybe we're sitting here right now and we're like, hey, when we thought this was going to be a sweep, maybe Memphis can push. Maybe they can win, you know, 2 at home, and we're going back to OKC 2-2. And I don't think either of us would ever get to the point where we wouldn't think OKC is going to win the series. But, you know, you never know, because like you said, in the last 2 nights, we've seen 2 guys get injured. Well, every game you play, every minute you play increases your likelihood, or your chance of getting hurt. So my point being, OKC wants to close this out as fast as possible, so something like this can't happen to SGA or J-Dub or somebody like that. I did just want to touch real quick with Morant. Again, I missed the first half, so I didn't see any of Morant tonight, but every time I've watched him here late in the year, including, I think I have notes on game 2, his nuance of the way he plays does impress me. And that's kind of what you broke down there, like his change of pace, his dribble moves, his reads, like those type of things. Everybody falls in love with the crazy vertical pop off the floor and body control in the air and stuff like that. But he does have real nuance in the way he goes about attacking a defense and getting to the basket. And I think it's always important to highlight that with Morant's game.
And it was on full display in the first half tonight. Like, it was unbelievable how good he was in ball screens. I thought that Edey did a better job of like screening and rescreening in the first half of this game, being able to create that little bit of space and separation for him to get dribble penetration. And once he does that, Oklahoma City's defense collapses. He's able to spray the ball out, hit Scottie Pippen Jr., hit different guys, Santi Aldama, etc. So this happens. And, you know, where I think I'm at on these, and like, I don't know how you feel about this, but I wouldn't, again, I don't want to blame Lou Dort or Amen Thompson in any way for this. I don't think these were dirty plays. I think they were just incredibly unlucky where they both kind of lost their footing and this happened. I wouldn't have an issue with these undercut plays being just an automatic flagrant. Now, like, it becomes a slippery slope, obviously. Like, what is an undercut? I think that, like, if you just made it as simple as like, if the player gets horizontal in the air, or like something like that, where he's like way in the air and he's horizontal as he lands, or, you know, whatever it is, right? There could be something there to do that. It's one of those plays where it's so dangerous. And I totally get that tonight, for instance, like Dort just slipped, right? Like, he just lost his footing. There's no ill intent there from Dort. But it is still just incredibly dangerous. Like, these plays are incredibly dangerous. If there's any way to try and get them out of the game, maybe by just like an auto flagrant foul where it's 2 points in the ball, I don't totally mind that as an idea.
Maybe there's something with, if you make contact with an airborne player's lower body or something like that, right? But there's probably something, like, if you really thought about it. The thing I don't want to take away, like, I saw one the other day that people were mad about a chase down block attempt and a player ended up falling backwards. And I'm like, so we want to take that out of people's games? You know, like, I know I kind of ranted about this yesterday, where we want players to play hard and be aggressive and not give up on plays. So I think you have to be careful.
Totally.
I agree with you, because I will listen, I wasn't a high riser, but like, I could get up and, you know, especially in my high school days, I, you know, played above the rim. And
let the people know.
Yeah. There's no scarier feeling on a basketball court than being up in the air and having somebody get into your lower body, or quite like not trusting somebody to not be aware that you're up in the air and don't have control over yourself. If they take out your legs, you're screwed. And so I think there's something there. I just want if the league does do it, I think I'm with you. I'd be okay with it, even though I don't think people are doing in these instances doing on purpose. I just want to be careful with, like, you start taking some of this stuff out of it, and then we take away a part of the game I do appreciate, which is these hustle plays, these recovery blocks. You know, at the end of the day, these are big time athletes on both sides of it. And it's just, it is going to happen a little bit because they're playing so high off the floor.
Yeah, that's the thing that makes it dangerous, though, to me too, is like, these are the best athletes in the world. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are so explosive, and it just is dangerous. It just genuinely is dangerous.
It's fair.
I don't know if I have the answer on this, like, but it would be good to find a way to legislate these out of the game. But now we have to go to Oklahoma City, because the way that they came back in the second half, I thought was remarkable. First, it starts with Chet Holmgren. His third quarter, he had 16 points in the first 8 minutes of the third quarter, and just like completely took over the game when Shea was not playing all that well at that point, frankly. Chet and J-Dub were really the two guys that came alive and stepped up and were enormous to me. Were absolutely enormous to me in this one. Chet's performance in the second half, I thought, really galvanized them and made them realize this isn't over. We still got this. Like, we can still work our way methodically back into this game. I thought that the way that they used different shooters to attack Zach Edey was interesting. Like, there were a couple of possessions, I think one in the first and one in the second, where they would run like DHOs for Isaiah Joe off of, Hartenstein. And they knew that Edey was going to play drop coverage and it was just going to lead to a wide open screen or a wide open three if Hartenstein was able to just like really get his body there and wipe out the opposing defender trying to get through the screen. I thought that was sharp from them. The other guy that just completely and utterly took over this game is Alex Caruso.
Yeah.
This game is the utter, like, exact perfect example of why they traded for him. It's why, I think late in the season, you saw people going, oh, like, Josh Giddey, like they traded Giddey and he's doing all this stuff. He has all these triple doubles on a bad Chicago Bulls team. Like, did the Bulls win that trade? No. Like, the Bulls did fine in that deal, and we talked about that when it happened. Like, they could have gotten more, but like Giddey was probably always going to be like okay for them. The thing is that for Oklahoma City, Caruso is perfect for what they needed.
Yeah.
In this game here is the exact example. He probably had, I swear it felt like 8 different plays where his hand-eye coordination and just his disruptiveness with his hands completely blew up whatever Memphis was doing. And I get it. Again, you can't say enough that they did not have John Morant and they didn't have a way to actually score in this second half. But the way that Caruso just blew everything up was good guarding Jaren Jackson Jr., was really good in help, was disruptive with deflections. He had 3 or 4 steals. Like, it was as disruptive a defensive performance as I've seen in a while.
Yeah, honestly, Chet and Caruso were the guys that really caught my attention initially. And then J-Dub kind of helped bring it home as well, of course, and had a really good game. But I think the way you brought up Chet is right. Whenever it was like, okay, are we really going to be able to make a run at this or not? Are we going to be able to chip away? It seemed like Chet was the one that was really locked in on that. And then Caruso, like you said, I don't know what the box score numbers are. I will tell you this, whatever they are doesn't do it justice, because like the sheer steal numbers don't account for all the deflections. He probably didn't get accounted for every steal where he knocked the ball away. Maybe a teammate's the one that actually secured it. He was all over the place on the defensive end. And like I say, just, you said it perfectly, causing disruption. They had multiple plays where I feel like they tricked the Memphis ball handlers into dribbling across half court, that you teach third graders not to do. Don't dribble into the corner and cross over there. Like, I remember Jaren, I think, had to call a timeout with 16 seconds left in the third quarter. And, because they had him just dead to rights in the corner between half court and the sideline. So just the defense of OKC in general finally locked in. Yet again, no Ja is an important caveat in the conversation, but it felt like it was led by Caruso and his disruption on that end.
77 points in the first half, 31 in the second half for the Memphis Grizzlies. And that's the Ja impact, but it's also, the way that Caruso just completely took over the game. Donason asks, basically, were they cautious with Caruso during the regular season to save him for the playoffs? Yes. I think they absolutely tried to limit Caruso's minutes and limit the wear and tear on his body because A, he's a little bit older, but B, the style of play is just so physical and like he's diving on the court for loose balls. He just puts himself in harm's way. He is a guy that accumulates injuries throughout the course of his career. Anything that you can do in order to get him through the regular season, I think, is utterly the right decision. It was as impressive a perimeter, like defensive performance from a guard as I have seen in quite a while. He he completely took over the game. I can't say it a different way. He had 4 steals and 1 block. You asked about the box score stats. It was crazy. It was absolutely crazy.
Caruso played 54 games this season. He only played more than 23 minutes in 10 of them. And he played 23 minutes tonight. He played a bunch of games this year in the 15 to 19, 13 to 19 minute range. I mean, there is a bunch of these games where that's all he played. If you go less than 21 minutes, it's like, it's a bunch. So it makes sense that maybe they were saving him. And listen, they didn't bring in Caruso to win a game 3 in the first round against the Grizzlies, but it was an example of that, right? Like, this is what, whoever ends up being in the next round, which is, a series we'll talk about, him having this type of game in that game, or the conference finals or the NBA finals, that's what it's here for. And it seems like they're just kind of building him up to this. And the roster decisions are interesting. Our guy Aaron Wiggins only played 7 minutes tonight. Even Isaiah Joe, 15 minutes in this game. I feel like they went away from Hartenstein a little bit and just went, quote unquote small with Chet at the 5. And, Hart only played 21 tonight, but that's the depth of this team where you can't even question it, because they still had 5 very quality players on the court.
Yeah, totally. And look, that roster flexibility is exactly what we've talked about them throughout the year, right? It's that they have the ability to go big with a Hartenstein and Holmgren if they want to try and match with Edie, or they can go small and try and run Edie off the court if they want to. You know what I mean? Like, they can try and play, Chet with J-Dub at the 4, Caruso at the 3 guarding Jaren sometimes. And then, any of the guards like Shea or Dort or Aaron Wiggins or like Cason Wallace, like whatever you want to do, you're going to be able to do it with these guys. That's what makes them so dangerous. It's what makes them such an interesting player. And such an interesting team here moving forward in the playoffs. And it's why they won 68 games this year. That flexibility to be able to do so many different things and be able to present so many different ways. I mean, look, again, this is the exact way that I think of basketball. So, maybe this is my bias showing in some way, but I just adore everything that they're about. And, tonight was such a great example. Again, 29-point deficit. And they come all the way back and win. Now we'll see what happens with Ja Morant. And, if they had won, I would imagine that, maybe there's a chance he would have played. And he came down on his hip hard, though. Like, I really hope that he's okay. That was brutal.
Yeah, I mean, it always stinks whenever these guys miss games. We talked about this with Jimmy in that series, where I don't care who wins between the Rockets and the Warriors. I just want the most interesting series we can get. And if a healthy Ja Morant would have given us an extra game of Thunder Grizzlies, I don't think that's what's best for the Thunder, but for me, getting a chance to watch more basketball, I think would be awesome. And obviously for Ja, who's battled injuries in his career, it stinks not seeing him in a playoff setting, but we'll see. It sounds like Jimmy Butler's, I know they're different, but it sounds like Jimmy's at least not, I don't know the right way to say it. A chance for game 3, even though if it's not a great chance. So, maybe Ja could play in game 4, but when you're down 0-3, how much you want to push it? Be interesting to see what they decide.
Yeah. And, the other thing I do want to say here for Oklahoma City and for Memphis is, particularly early in the second half, Memphis had a number of opportunities to put this game away. Yeah. And they missed a ton of open shots.
This is a team that still have Desmond Bane and Jaren Jackson Jr. So it's not like it's the Detroit Pistons without Cade Cunningham and there's nobody left. Like, both you and I had Jaren Jackson Jr. as a 3rd team All NBA guy this season, and have a lot of respect for Desmond Bane. Not to mention
for Jaren had 22 tonight. He was good at taking advantage of mismatches. He struggled a little bit with the Caruso stuff, but he still had 22 tonight, and I thought was impactful.
And Bane struggled. The guy that we probably need to give a little bit of flowers to is Scottie Pippen Jr. I know you mentioned him, but just a 28-point night, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 3 steals, 6 of 10 from 3. I will say this. You know what I was a little impressed with, Sam? You could see OKC making the comeback, right? Like,
yeah,
they tied it up on the SGA 3 free throws, getting fouled on the 3, obviously. Memphis came right back at him and I think scored like 4 or 6 straight points. And then OKC came back and then Memphis went back at him again. And I was like, okay, like I kind of appreciate this, that, you know, when you blow a lead like that, it gets real nerve wracking because you realize what you're doing. And obviously they weren't able to close it out, but I kind of respected that they were able to push back against the Thunder, even whenever OKC got all of this momentum going throughout that comeback.
Yeah. And, you know, Toby brings up in the comments, like, I'm confused about Taylor Jenkins firing. Isalo has not been impressive. I mean, I totally disagree with that. I thought that Isalo was super impressive in the first half. The ability to get Ja into space, some of the stuff that they ran to find these different avenues for him, the way that they adjusted like the screen level, the way that they adjusted like Edie's rescreening, I thought was actually really, really good. It's just that when you lose the guy that your entire offense is built around, and Isalo's offense is built around like super heavy ball screen usage, it's just like so difficult in that moment to be able to do anything. I actually thought Isalo showed me something tonight, to be honest with you, more than he was unimpressive. And like, people are going to look at, oh my God, it was a 29-point comeback, but the way that it's not an accident that they had 77 points in the first half and then Ja Morant goes down. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it was super, super impressive to me.
I mean, this is the exact conversation we had whenever the firing happened. And like, you know, I kind of defended Taylor Jenkins to an extent in terms of, can you blame a guy for going to an offense that isn't built around a single player running ball screens when that single player's availability has been in question over the last few years? Tonight was not Ja's fault. And in general, injuries aren't people's fault, but you know, it kind of showed up again here. But yeah, I haven't seen the first half yet, so I can't speak on it as confidently as you, but it seems like they tapped into something, at least for the first half. My biggest thing so far in the series was just like, I'm surprised we haven't seen Vince Williams at all, just defensively, you know, taking SGA some. And I mean, it's not a big deal, but like, they were playing Marvin Bagley and not Jay Huff. Now Bagley didn't play tonight anyway, so it doesn't really matter. It was just like a few roster, like, but it was on the margins. I don't even know that it really matters a whole lot.